literally when I partner with brands, and if you're watching, if you men are watching, you women are watching, ask questions.
Why do you think that the beauty industry has become more gender inclusive over the last few years?
Because of people like me. I mean, like, I think social media has given us a voice with all the platforms like YouTube and Snapchat and Instagram. We're able to curate our own entrepreneurship and brand. And I think people resonate with that. It's very much a Cinderella story. We're very much our own startup. And I think people resonate with that, and they see us make money and evolve and produce and create. And I think people resonate with that, especially in beauty, because it's a tangible thing that they're able to see and not just hear. Like music, they're able to go and buy it. So there's that parallel of entrepreneurship and business, that they're able to take one item off the shelf and do it at home and get a camera and apply it to themselves.
Who was the first person, or when was the first moment when you thought that makeup could really be something that you could do with your life?
It wasn't really someone that was necessarily in beauty, but I think business-wise, I didn't have a blueprint for beauty, so I looked to Tyra Banks as a blueprint for entrepreneurship for me. So I looked at her identity as a person, being a minority in business, in her space, in modeling, and I said, I'm a minority in my space, in business, in beauty. And she had a vehicle of her channel on her network, and then I had my vehicle called YouTube, and we both produced content. And I looked at her like as a parallel. We're both minorities, we're very different, we want to celebrate diversity. And show after show for her, season after season, she exemplified diversity and products, incorporating brands and advertising. And for me, I also said, hey, I can exemplify diversity and beauty and business and educate these people. So I looked at Tyra Banks as she had her channel and her network and her show, and then I had my network and my show, my videos, as a vehicle to exemplify diversity. So for me, I wasn't just doing makeup on myself, as other traditional influencers would at the time. I was taking women of color, I was taking boys, I had my mom, I had my brothers doing makeup. So there's that sense of je ne sais quoi, or like tangibility that you don't really get normally. So.
Well, you just said other influencers weren't really doing that. You know, people tend to kind of follow trends. Why did you want to branch out and do something different, and were you nervous it wouldn't pay off at all?
Right. I think if you look at business, there's always a plateau. And I think I went viral, I think, on Instagram and on YouTube because I was putting so much makeup on. I was smacking powder so much on my face, and I said, there's only so far I can take this. So how can I elevate myself and market myself differently with education and leverage visibility with others? So for me to leverage visibility with others, I was using celebrities like Keke Palmer, Tyra Banks jumped on my channel. She invited me to go on America's Next Top Model, full freaking circle. I had Kim Kardashian. So I know that a majority of their viewers wouldn't know who I am. So for me to leverage that visibility and business, I mean, I'm shouting out their business brands, and I'm an advertiser in this space. That's what YouTube is. So
you're very valuable to them.
Yes, yes. And so for me to be brand agnostic, I think was viable for these other celebrities to partner with me, and I partnered with Katy Perry for CoverGirl to be on my channel, Tyra Banks for Tyra Beauty, Kim Kardashian for KKW, most recently Kris Jenner, her mom, for Kylie Cosmetics. And I think that's what it was for me, to just go beyond what I was already doing by changing it up.
So you've been collaborating with MAC for a year now.
Right.
How did that come about, but why also was it important for you to collaborate with them specifically?
I think for me, leverage-wise, I had been offered multiple partnerships, and I think MAC was the perfect fit. But first and foremost, because I used to work at MAC, so I think that would just tell a huge story in itself. And I was a man in makeup at the mall. And, you know, I think there was a lot of prejudice in Florida of a man wearing makeup and a turban and lashes. And I think to see this full circle story come around was just really beautiful for people to see and be inspired. But also, I think the publicity that MAC could have given me, not to just leverage my kind of person, LGBTQ, in the community in the US, in Florida, but internationally, globally. They're an Estee Lauder multi-million dollar company. And for me to leverage that visibility and marketing in Asia, Canada, Europe, Latin America, I think it was just beyond what my expectations for a collab would be.
Shows like Drag Race, have become so popular and some say mainstream over the last few years, and that's obviously a lot of gender non-conforming.
Right.
How do you think shows like that and influencers like yourself have kind of shaped how we view beauty and just gender roles today?
I think it's not just about beauty, and we're able to shape our gender norms with our humanity, with our humility, I think. And I think when you see RuPaul's Drag Race, you see them wiping off their makeup, you see the evolution of the transformation of drag. And we're, like RuPaul says, we're born naked and the rest is drag. We're all the same people. So I think if you deconstruct the art and the canvas, we're all just humans at the end of the day, and I think people start to realize that and see a little bit of them in me, a little bit of maybe them in the contestants of Drag Race, and personify that, whether it's through me, with their family dynamic, with their interest in music or fashion or food. And I think people really resonate with that, and we find a common chord and connection.
Some of the more established, older makeup brands have been a bit slow to be gender inclusive. How can they make sure to do it, but do it right and not kind of like pander or jump on a trend?
I think by slowly incorporating, I spoke about this to a camp. I spoke to campers earlier this week about why are brands so late to catch up with inclusivity or with norm. First of all, they're mass producing business, and they plan 2 years ahead. And so for them to jump on their calendar of product and marketing is just beyond what they can do capacity-wise within a time frame. But I think by slowly building a relationship on their social media platforms, on Instagram, on YouTube, on vertical video, in the press, slowly, so by the time it comes out, it will already have been conditioned, I think. You have to really develop that relationship from beginning to end. You can't just slap it on and say, we're gonna do a pride collection this month. If you have the philanthropy and the personification behind it, the storytelling, I think it will create a successful partnership.
And MAC's had like the MAC AIDS Fund since the early 90s.
Yes, MAC AIDS Fund, they started with RuPaul as their first Viva Glam ambassador. They've raised over, I wanna say $500+ million with the Viva Glam MAC AIDS Fund, and it's beyond, and they celebrate all sexes, all ages, all races, and that's me, and I celebrate that makeup is a one-size-fits-all.
10 years ago, I don't think any of us would have predicted that we'd have influencers kind of running the world, changing industries.
Right.
What do you kind of think the next 10 years is going to be? What is going to be the big surprise or the big shift in the future?
I think the shift is this generation of influencers, social media content creators, developing their own brands and their own businesses. We're starting to see it within the beauty community, whether it's their own makeup brand or fashion line or whatever. And I think we know how the businesses run, and I think it'll just flourish. And hopefully there isn't that much inflation. But I think it'll flourish with the right strategies, and the ones that have the right strategy and business plan will be at the top.
When you started this as well, you started obviously, I imagine, because you loved it, and it has become this big business. Mm-hmm. How have you kind of learned along the way to be this business person, this entrepreneur, and like what have been some of the challenges in doing that?
Literally, when I partner with brands, and if you're watching, if you men are watching, you women are watching, ask questions. I think for me, I think a lot of brands are surprised when I'm talking to their global communications or their head of marketing or their product development team, like, how does this work? How does packaging work? How does, how does your social strategy work? Like, what can you learn from me? And I had this conversation with a brand a few days ago, and I think it's just being transparent and open, because I think the more you understand your ecosystem and how things work and how things die and how things grow, I think it'll make you such a great business person too.
Do you ever think that makeup and beauty can be genderless? Do you think there's a time?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I mean, we're in Hollywood. Men wear makeup all the time. Men have been wearing wigs. If you look at the archaic times, women couldn't even participate in entertainment. and men were dressing up as women to be in entertainment. And now we've developed, I don't know, there's some sort of norm of masculinity, what is masculine and what is feminine. But I think it's makeup and beauty is no different than what you eat and what you wear, and I think there's something for everyone.
Revlon recently hired its first female CEO, which is kind of crazy. How do you think that being a predominantly male-dominated industry at exec level is affecting the industry?
I think just approval-wise, because they have to approve these budgets, and I know what it takes to work with these companies. For example, Benefit had the largest launch of brows. I think 40 SKUs of brow products ever to introduce, and it was the largest launch they ever had, and they really had to, and they're an LVMH company, and so to prove to their president, hey, we're gonna launch these 40, and when you have product moving, if you have 40 in, you have to take 40 out. That's business, so they have to tell him, hey, we're gonna do this. But I think a lot of, although it wasn't, it was scary because it hasn't been done, I think for them to still push forward with that decision, with a bunch of females running Benefit Cosmetics, they proved to him that they were right, and now they're the #1 prestige brand of LVMH.
Because products are such a huge part of influencers' businesses now, how do you make sure that the product really speaks to your audience? Because, even though you're a male doing makeup, a lot of your audience are female as well. So how do you, make sure that it reflects you?
I think by just exemplifying diversity, how to use product, the education that comes with it. It's all marketing strategy too. So for me to showcase makeup, and also the influencer distribution that we're doing via marketing. We call them in the beauty space PR packages. So for all the men and women that don't know about this, like brands will gift and disclaim that these products are for free, and the community, the whole industry within the beauty community is shook. And then you have this person showing it to their followers, and then this influencer showing it to their followers, and that's how press goes. And everyone is. I get so many boxes a day because I'm a large advertiser within the space. So that's what influencers are too. So I think it's a free for all when you're trying to trickle down the press system.
You've done so much already,
Yes.
But what's the next big goal? Where do you want to get to?
I think just being creative with marketing and investing into my own team, growing a team. There's a village behind all of this, and they're right behind me. And I think it's just being creative and continuing to keep engaged and post with your followers and your subscribers, and keep up with what's now called IGTV. It's like a monster, because I think social media starts like a little baby, or like I called it like a zoo. I have one little animal, one platform that I want to feed, and I'm feeding this animal. Then that's the monkey cage, right? And then I got the zebras over here, and then I gotta go feed Snapchat over there. Then I gotta feed Facebook over here, and then it becomes this big zoo, and all the animals are hungry, and you just want to feed these platforms, and there's only one of me, and 30 of them. So I think that's just what it's like to keep continuing to creatively collaborate and keep up with the ecosystem.
It's like a safari out there.
Yeah.